Information-fueled.
Opinion-driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to your Tuesday, January 7th. Hope you are well. Just very quickly, along with KGB, Jeff Malinoff, Joan Jones as well. A bunch of people sent me warnings overnight about the possibility of black ice. And so I didn't encounter any ice on the roadways when I was in. KGB, you didn't have any either coming in. Joan said that she had just a little patch, but other than that, her trip was fine as well coming in. Doesn't mean that there isn't any out there, but as far as we can tell, Joan, no black ice to speak of by and large.
The far out counties, there may be some patches of black ice. For the most part, there was so much wind yesterday that everything dried up on the roads. However, what didn't dry up, it's 29 degrees. So everything that is wet on the road is going to freeze. So you just have to use caution. It's really, yeah.
Just use caution.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Thank you. And there is Donald Trump. Of course, everyone knows he was certified yesterday. Coming up in about a minute and a half, you are going to hear the best audio bite so far of 2025. First of all, though, Kamala Harris, she did certify the victory of Donald Trump and, of course, J.D. Vance as well. This is part of what it sounded like.
This announcement of the state of the vote by the President of the Senate shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons elected, President and Vice President of the United States, each for a term beginning on the 20th day of January, 2025, and shall be entered together with the list of the votes on the journals of the House and the Senate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And, of course, the Republicans applauding. I believe there may have been even a standing ovation. But what is interesting about, as we talk about what happened yesterday, there's a lot of videos out there, and you have a lot of the Democrats in the media saying, oh, Kamala Harris, she was so graceful in defeat and all of this. And I think, number one, well, she didn't really have much of a choice. But number two, before you start to feel sorry for Kamala Harris, I'm just going to remind you of why she lost the election in the first place. But this audio bite, by far, is my favorite of 2025 so far.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris
Republicans.
Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes.
And the funny thing is, you have the Republicans a standing ovation as she's talking about Donald Trump. And then when she talked about how many votes that she got, electoral votes that she got, the Democrats gave her a standing ovation. And to be perfectly honest, isn't that typical of the Democrats? It's like everybody got a trophy, right? Everybody gets a trophy. They give Harris a standing ovation for literally running the worst campaign in the history of bad campaigns.
Yeah, but didn't you have just even a morsel of compassion for her?
No, I did not.
The best part was they interrupted her. Like, she was trying to get over with, and they just wouldn't let her. That's the best part.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They had to gavel the Republicans.
Yeah.
They also,
shut up.
She gavelled the Republicans. She also gavelled the Democrats to stop talking, to stop cheering when they started that ridiculous cheer for her.
You know what the funny thing is? That is like the gavel of shut up.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely is.
But you see, here's the thing. I do wonder, these Democrats giving Kamala Harris a standing ovation. As I said, this is kind of part of the everybody gets a trophy mentality. And so part of what you're saying, Joan, and I think there are some people that legit do feel sorry for Kamala Harris, even people on our side. Well, I mean, so you felt a little sorry for Kamala Harris, Joan?
So when you're watching her, she was standing the whole time as I'm so into the process, so I watched the whole stupid thing. But every time they bring up one of the folders that had the results from each state, she would take that and then hand it to one of and I forget their teller, I forget what they call them, who would announce what that state voted, how that state voted. And while she was doing that, she stood the whole time, and she just looked like somebody had punched her in the eye. No emotion, looking straight out, almost as if she was staring out into the abyss. There was just a moment of compassion that I had for her, that the weight of everything that the Democrats did, and she also has fault here, but everything that they did to put her on that stage and run that horrible campaign,
right,
that landed on her at that very moment.
But she's part of the problem.
Absolutely, she is.
With the Democrat Party.
She is.
And so,
she lied like crazy, and I don't respect it.
I think you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a terrible candidate. She did lie to the American people about literally everything. I mean, if we could go down the list, I mean, Joan, this is for you. Because I would remind you and anybody else who would feel sorry for Kamala Harris. And I realize you said it was only a moment.
It was a moment, yeah.
But for anybody else who had more than a moment of compassion for Kamala Harris, she lied about where she stood on the issues. She lied about where Donald Trump stood on the issues. And it was like unabashed.
Yeah.
She knew that she was lying. Her campaign literally admitted that they knew that she was lying and about Donald Trump's positions. But they said, you know what? That's okay because this seems to be working for us. So we're going to continue with the lie. So that's part of my issue with not only obviously the Democrats and Kamala Harris, but the media as well. She lied about Joe Biden for years and his ability to serve as president because of his cognitive functionality, which was declining from the day that he took office. She lied about the borders being secure. She raised $1 billion and ended up $20 million in the hole. So no, I don't feel sorry for her at all.
In my head, I have to juxtapose that sad image of her yesterday standing there with the images of her at the debate when she put her hand under her chin and looked at President Trump as if he was, had three heads. And when she did that finger wagging thing at the last debate at the I am speaking, if I remember those things, if I remember those things, I can sort of put it in perspective. But just that moment when she looked like she was just run over by a truck, I just felt bad.
You know what? But you see that moment, and I get it, Joan, and maybe you've got more humanity than I do, but to me, I think that all of those moments that you just mentioned led up to the moment that she experienced and we all saw yesterday. It's her own fault. And had she been a better candidate, and if she had not lied about Donald Trump and the Republican Party and the state of our nation, and that list that I just rattled off about all of the lies, I mean, that was just off the top of my head. Yeah. I mean, if I really dug deep into it, there's probably a ton of other things that I would remember that led us to the moment yesterday. Let's be honest. She also spoke often about how Donald Trump was and I'm going to air quote here, a convicted felon.
Yes.
When anybody who knows that story knows that storyline is just a bunch of BS. So I think that I will admit sometimes you've got to be gracious in victory, but there's also nothing wrong with the Republicans saying, hooray for our side. And by the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene had a few thoughts on all of this. We're going to play that audio for you.
Bet she did.
Coming up next, it is 5:16. Time to check the roads on WTN.
It looks okay. 40, no problems, and 24. The westbound side looking really good this morning with just a couple of spots of construction set up near Old Fort Parkway. There's another one right at Joby Jackson. So careful as you're traveling in. And the roads are clear except for small patches of maybe some icy spots. Be careful heading in. Keep your eyes on a swivel. Or is it head on a swivel? I guess it's head on a swivel.
Your head needs to be on the swivel.
And I guess you don't have your head
open.
on a swivel while you're driving. Everything I just said, forget.
No,
Traffic
you
every time.
You gotta keep your head on a well. You're right, Joan.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
Thank you. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. As far as your weather goes, a high of 34, low of 20, high of 34, low of 24. Cloudy today, no rain, and
Snowmageddon's coming on Friday.
No snow right now, but Snowmageddon. And here's the problem. Well, actually, we'll talk about this at 5:35.
Okay, good.
Because I have a conundrum regarding Friday, and Joan, you might have the same conundrum. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more at 5:35. You ready to hear this? Ready to hear this Marjorie Taylor Greene audio?
Oh yeah,
she was very excited about all of this.
I have to tell you, I enjoyed that so much. I was sitting front and center inside the House chamber, so I was sitting pretty much directly in front of Kamala Harris. And yeah, it was quite satisfying watching her certify her own loss. Remember, this is a woman that never received a single vote in the Democrat primary. She literally stole the election right out from under Joe Biden and then went on to lose in glorious fashion because America said, we have had enough of the communist Democrats. So today was a great day. I tell you, it couldn't have been any better, but it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun.
And here's the thing. Is that everywhere you looked yesterday, not to belabor the point, but people were trying to give Kamala Harris credit for being, I guess, either a gracious loser or being a good sport or whatever it is. But to me, she shouldn't be congratulated for losing, as Marjorie Taylor Greene says, losing the election in glorious fashion, because she did. So the media is trying to make her out to be some sort of a hero. I liked what Scott Jennings had to say about all of this, because let's all be honest. Kamala Harris, she did get her tail handed to her, and then she had to go out. Again, you reap what you sow. And so she had to go out, and she did have to do her job, which she did.
On this Harris business, I think before we canonize St. Kamala here on the high holy day of January 6th. Let's remember the electoral.
See, that's funny.
I love that.
That is funny on the high holy day of January 6th, because he's right.
Yeah.
The Democrats, they do treat January 6th as some sort of a holiday. And the reason, of course, being is that they are always talking about this. They try to use this as the reason why they should have been voted into the White House. And I think the American people, and I've got a lot more to say about this in the time that I have, but I think the American people saw right through that, where it's like, you know what, they keep talking about January 6th. I'm worried about today, and I'm worried about the cost of my groceries and the price of gas and where inflation is. And so Scott Jennings and all of America saw right through what the Democrats were trying to do.
On this Harris business, I think before we canonize St. Kamala here on the high holy day of January 6th, let's remember the Electoral Count Reform Act of 2022 makes it perfectly clear that the vice president has nothing but purely ministerial duties on this day. She didn't actually certify the results of the election. That's done by the voters.
It was clear as day 4 years ago as well.
Right.
But wait till you hear what else he has to say, because he puts every single one of those Democrats on that panel on CNN. It's almost like they're outmatched by one guy. You know what I mean? You've got Van Jones up there, and you got a whole bunch of other people up there, and they try to take him out, and they try to either mock Donald Trump, they try to make fun of Donald Trump, they try to criticize the Republicans. And to be perfectly honest, they're no match for Scott Jennings. And so the audio that I'm going to play for you right before the news, coming up after this break, is a testament to that fact. So all that and a whole lot more straight ahead. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 5:30. Joan, what's coming up?
Yeah, we'll talk about that snow system that's reportedly on its way over the mid-states. We've got details on that. Also, McDonald's has 86th an unpopular company policy. Those stories coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.